My new comic, Thunderhead, is on Kickstarter right now. Go check it out and enjoy the episode. Thanks. Hey there. Another episode of Graphic Language. Just pulling into my chair. Making sure the video's playing. All right, good. I already did kind of an intro video about who I am, talking about the work that I've done in comics for the past, 20 years or so. Now I'd like to talk about like what this channel is going to be about. At first I was just filming these videos, and I wasn't sure if I was going to do a YouTube channel with it, really. I thought it'd be cool. I thought it'd be an interesting way to get out some ideas, but I wasn't sure if I was really going to like be able to commit to it. I'm kind of a relatively private person, and I don't really love, like, it's like I make the thumbnails on YouTube for these channels, for each episode, and you can just tell by looking at YouTube, obviously, by putting your face or someone's face on there, it does better, just like a comic book cover on on the comic book racks. You see someone's face big and bold. Obviously humans are drawn to that just as a design principle. The human eye, the human face, sometimes the human hand, the human hand, faces of any creatures really that are kind of the more human-like and recognizable, the better to us. So anyway, so I put my face on the YouTube thumbnails, but I kind of hate doing that stuff. It's like, how many times can I possibly put my stupid face up here online? But anyway, I was thinking about, things like that would make it a little bit difficult to put myself out there in a way. But also I was like, well, at the end of the day, it's just my hands drawing a picture. I do a little ad on the YouTube video, obviously, where it's me talking and stuff. But this makes it a little bit easier for me when it's just kind of sharing thoughts and focusing on the artwork as I'm talking. So what I did was I just filmed a few videos. I was working, like I've said, sometimes I film videos with my brother on what's called the Pro Bro Show that we do most Fridays. It's Friday today, actually. I should probably do one of those with Drew. I gotta text him or something and see if he's up for it. But yeah, what I was gonna say was like, while I was doing that, and before I even started doing that Pro Bro Show with my brother, I was filming the videos here and there, and just kind of stockpiling them and seeing if they, if I could build up enough of them over time, then I'd feel confident to make a YouTube channel. So I've got quite a few videos banked, not as many as I'd hoped in a way, it's like the schedule that I put, it's kind of like a Monday or Friday schedule. So those videos go pretty fast. So I do have to kind of keep making them, but I'm always doing work here at the desk. So not hard to put on the camera, do some work here at the desk and fire off a few ideas, and make a video out of that. But yeah, so there was just the filming of it itself that I thought, I wasn't sure if I would, I'd film a few and see if I had enough stuff to talk about that it would be worth it to make my own YouTube channel. And the other thing, yeah, is just like build up a bunch of videos, and then once I saw that there were enough, I said, okay, so now you need to organize your thoughts a little bit and figure out what do you really want to talk about while you're on here. So, I've got my little This is, sorry, upside down. This is sketchbook number 24. 124. I've been keeping these for a lot of years. I'll do an episode on this eventually, I'd imagine. But yeah, I wrote down a bunch of, here's graphic language, a bunch of ideas that I have for the logo, which you've seen, and different subjects I could cover. So that's mainly what I wanted to talk about in the video. What is this YouTube channel really going to be about? You know, if you subscribe, if you kind of check it out, what are you in for? What kind of subjects am I going to be covering? Oops, that's never good. Oh, poor Kaya. A little drip there. That's okay. Not that much blue. So one thing, the reason I call it graphic language is actually this idea that I've had for quite a while, that I would like to just analyze the graphic language of comic books, really pick apart the different elements of comic books, something similar to the works of, Will Eisner talking comics and sequential art, or Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics. There's been a few other books too along the way that are inspiration for that. But yeah, just from my own kind of perspective and my own work in the comics medium over the years, I've picked up a few tricks and noticed a few things, and I'd like to talk about, just kind of pick apart that language, talk about motion in comics. Like one thing that's interesting in comics is talking about the things that they don't have, which one thing is, they're still images. So talking about motion, how do you create the feeling of motion in comics? There's no sound, but I think of color as kind of the soundtrack, the musical soundtrack of the comic. So yeah, using color as kind of the emotional and musical backdrop, not just using color as like literal color, but symbolic color kind of, and emotional color. Other subjects like using juxtaposition, putting two images side by side, and what does that do to our brains, and how can we use that in comic books to make a really immersive kind of experience. Talk about different forms of illustrating perspective. How do you bring forth emotion? How do you deal with time? Again, there's no real time in comic books. Time kind of equals space in comic books to a certain degree, but it's a little bit more to it than that. So yeah, I love these subjects, and I don't see them being covered in a lot of different places. So I thought I would kind of, when I get the time, when I clear a few more things off my deadlines, I'd like to kind of just sit back and just brainstorm different ideas, and that will eventually become something a little bit bigger. But I think that's a little ways down the road, though, and I can talk about that. If that ends up becoming something bigger, I can talk about that in future episodes. Another thing I can talk about is just a little bit more in depth on my history. Talk a little bit more in depth of the origins of working on Deadly Class with Rick Remender, recently working on All In with Scott Snyder, DC. A bit more I've touched on the origins of Kaya, but I could touch on a few more of the influences and different things that have affected the series. My other series, Gravediggers, my other series, Black Hand Comics, that I did years ago. And also the most recent thing, of course, is talk about my work on Thunderhead with Kevin Castanero. That's currently running on Kickstarter as I'm sitting here. So I could talk about that, kind of all the things that came about, that all the things that were bubbling up in my head that helped make that into what I thought would be a cool comic book to work on. I'd like to also talk about, I already did last week, I did a whole series, a whole week on single issues. I'd like to also touch on digital comics, what we can do to make the digital experience more unique and more interesting, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of just all of those things: single issues, digital, trade paperbacks, the compact kind of style you know, the young adult compact kind of style. It's becoming more and more popular. Manga, obviously, European albums, hardcovers, etc. All these different ways of kind of packaging your comic books, and I just looking at them and sharing some thoughts on what I think are advantages and disadvantages of both. What else we got here? Oh, I've got a stack right here of comics that I've been reading. Assorted Crisis Events, awesome comic. There's a bunch in here that I'll go through soon enough. Just things that I have been reading and that I've been impressed with, you know. Yeah, what else? There's a bunch of other stuff. Those are kind of the big ones that I've been thinking about and excited to kind of get to those subjects and see what I'm able to produce, see what I already think. And also some of this is like a bit freestyle where I'm just drawing and thinking these thoughts, and I end up coming up with new ideas, because it's kind of forcing me to really focus on one subject at a time. So I kind of like that about doing these episodes. It kind of puts me in that mind frame, really forces me to brainstorm ideas. So yeah, that's the gist of it. And most importantly, really, like, another thing that can help me is just, you know, sound off in the comments or in my newsletter or whatever you want to, and just tell me what you'd like to hear me talk about, you know. What do you think would be an interesting thing? What kind of stuff do you want me to show? You know, sometimes online I've shown my process stuff where I show my thumbnails and pencils and all the work that builds up to eventually doing a finished piece like this. A lot of times I focus on doing this blue stuff on the camera just because I think it looks nice for the camera, but also because it just happens to be, I have two different chairs that I kind of work at, and this is the chair that has the easiest access to a good spot to put this camera so I can film these videos. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, if you want to let me know what you want to hear about, and if I can accommodate that, then I will. So yeah, let me know. Thanks for listening. That's it for now. Bye. Thunderhead, Superheroes on Acid. That's all you really need to know about it. It's me and Kevin Castanero making some comic book magic, and it is on Kickstarter starting in at the end of July and going all the way through August. So we've got just amazing art, some amazing covers from my buds at Lethal Comic Books, Carl Kerschel, Andy Belanger. I'm doing a cover, Kevin's doing a cover. I am doing flashback. I'm writing the series and doing some flashback stuff. Kevin is doing the bulk of the amazing artwork that you got to check out. With every issue, like with every issue, there will be, what do we got? We got a free sketchbook, we got a free poster, free stickers, along with the actual oversized comic book that you'll get. So yeah, on Kickstarter, check it out. Thanks for listening.